to Around the Table with Powerful Women.
I'm Joy Caffrey.
I'm Wendy Love Edge.
And I'm Christi Daniels, and I am very excited to welcome our special guest, Marsha Lane Foster.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to be here.
I'm glad you're here. So let me share with you a little bit about Marsha from her official bio.
It's hard to write a bio about yourself.
I know, that's like the worst thing. I hate, yeah. But it sounds really impressive.
Good.
So Marsha's a fine art and intimate women's photographer based in historic downtown Rogers. Mm-hmm. She's also a life coach who enabling you to prosper in areas of mind, health, spirit, and she's also a filmmaker. She's a domestic abuse survivor, and Marsha feels passionate about empowering women to see themselves and know themselves as valuable individuals. In her role as an intimate and fine art photographer, she encourages women to move out of their comfort zones and achieve emotional freedom through photography.
Yes. You're definitely going to come out of your comfort zone if you're photographed nude or nearly nude. It's not an option.
Yeah, I can imagine. So tell us a little bit more about that. Like, how did you end up getting to where you're photographing nude person and women?
Well, I've been a professional photographer for about 10 years, and the first couple of years I photographed literally everything, and I'm glad I did that now because it taught me what I wanted to photograph and what I didn't want to photograph. Mm-hmm. And I kind of found boudoir photography by accident. In 2012, it really wasn't very popular in Northwest Arkansas. A lot of people didn't even know what it was. And so I started doing it, and I had a lot of things like, you're doing what? Like, what are you doing again? And so I still get that sometimes when I hand my card off and it has a beautiful woman that's kind of chesty on it, and so people are like, okay. But I found it kind of by accident, and then transitioned my business. Took about a year to transition my business from weddings and family and kids and all of that stuff over to photographing women in an intimate way. And then that kind of led me to my fine art career a few years later because I'm a domestic abuse survivor. What I found was that I was attracting those women to the studio for the boudoir experience because I was still broken from that, and that's what I was putting out there. So that was the women that I got into the boudoir studio. And then in 2015, I kind of felt, actually 2014, I felt like I had something in me that I couldn't get out. Have you ever felt like, I don't have that problem anymore? Mm-hmm. But I did some artistic coaching and mentoring with a artist in New York City, and she helped me kind of learn how to express myself, and the Hostage Project came from that. So then a lot of the emotional work that was happening in the boudoir studio was transferred to my fine art, and then that really lightened the mood in the boudoir studio, made it more fun because we weren't working through such heavy issues. Mm-hmm. That was kind of coming through the fine art with the subjects in that, and then the people who were seeing those projects were working through their stuff from witnessing the project. So that was the beginning of it all. I knew I wanted to empower women, but I didn't really know that it was going to really be this big. Like, I didn't know that it was going to be my life, and it is. It's pretty much, other than making films now, it's what I think about all the time.
I love that it's organically just
It has, and it's kind of moving into more where I still center on women, but my scope is getting larger, where I want to empower everyone. I think that as I've healed over the years from my domestic abuse, I don't see men as the enemy anymore per se, and so I want to empower everyone and have the collective be empowered and bettered because of the projects that I do.
I first learned of your work because Christi had done a women's workshop in your studio, in the back of the studio. And so we walked by the boudoir photographing area, and it was at a time when you had the Hostage Project up on the walls. And for me, I was just stunned at the beautiful expanse between walking into the beauty of the boudoir and seeing some of those photos and then
Yeah.
seeing the hostage project.
Yeah.
And it made me more curious, like, wow, I want to know this woman. I want to know what her journey has been. And then I love hearing in your bio that you're also doing filmmaking. So I'd love, for you to share where this broad spectrum, where it's leading you now.
I'm being led right now, as I said, to broaden my scope and empower more people through what I do. I've just conceived and planned and put in motion my first project that's not a portrait project. So it's the first thing I've done that's fine art that doesn't center around people as the subject. And I can tell you clouds are going to be the subject, but people are still the center of the project because the people are going to be creating the project. So it's a community art project that it's going to be early next year at the Art Collective Gallery in downtown Rogers, and I will be having it's 48 by 96, so it's massive, and I will have photographs of clouds that I've made over different days and different times over a period of time. And I will be inviting some people like Christi to come in and do a spiritual practice with people who will come, and then they will actually assemble the small parts of clouds into a whole photograph or a whole art piece. So I made the project, but the community will be assembling it. And so I'm really excited about that because it's my first non-portrait project.
Wonderful. I just want to back up for a minute because I'm not aware of the hostage project. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, the hostage project is based on that women feel bound by something. We're all bound by something, and that we keep ourselves bound by choice very often. Sometimes we're not, and it's not by choice, but if you kind of go way back into the annals of history of it, then it probably was by choice at some point. So in all of the photographs, it was one model, 12 images, a series of 12, and so that one model is in all 12 images, and she's also bound in every image in some way, and but she has a way of escape. So she's not so tied up or bound that if she didn't make the choice, she can escape if she wants to, and that's kind of where I was going with that.
I think that's very true. You know, our brain kind of keeps putting us in various situations until we kind of learn the lesson. We don't even realize that that's what's happening.
Yes.
And then once we change those pathways and do it differently, everything starts to change.
It's true.
So I can relate to that for sure. What a great project.
Thanks. It was my healing. It was the model. We both kind of healed together, and the concepts came from other women. I just put out an open call for women to answer the question, what do you feel binds you up or holds you hostage? And I couldn't believe the response I got of women emailing me, calling me, coming to see me, and just pouring their hearts out to me and telling me their experiences and what all they had been through, and then I would take those experiences and pull concepts out of them, and then that's where the 12 images came from, was from the concepts.
What that connects me to is my yoga training, and I love that one of the explanations that I was given for asana practice, it's actually to look at our minds when we put a bind on the body. So the asana practices themselves are putting an intentional bind on your muscle skeletal structure, and what does the mind do when you put that bind there? And just watching and being mindful about it. So I love connecting those two things together.
That's really interesting. I really love that.
Yeah, what happened? People think it's, we can, whatever, there's some confusion sometimes about what asana practice is about. And it really is about watching the mind as you put the body into different positions.
Yeah, I love that.
Watching the mind as you put the body in different positions. So it's true about yoga and about life, right?
Yeah, that's how you do yoga off the mat, right? And your project is...
Well, that's something that I learned from Christi is being able to watch yourself think and realize that you're not your thoughts. They're just thoughts that they don't define who you are, and you can't control them. That's been the focus of my life lately, is learning to control my thoughts, and Christi's helped me with that so much.
That's empowerment.
It is.
Yeah.
You're good. Yeah. So I'd like to talk just a little bit about your statement. You have a strong statement. Art heals.
Yeah.
You just expand on that, just for someone who doesn't really know your work. I mean, I've been moved by your work. I went to go see the Hostage Project in person. All these images, I mean, I get tingles all up and down my body now when I think about it, and how moving it was, how emotional it was, and almost like it needs to be where you can go into a room by yourself so you can feel free to let the emotions that come through just you know, have their way with you. But to somebody who's not familiar with your work, where do you get the art heals? Where?
It's mostly from experience, because as I said, the Hostage Project was my healing from domestic violence. I was completely still bound up in all of that, those ways of thinking, and I deserve this, and I caused this, and you know, whatever else, whatever other lies come with all of that. So first and foremost, watching art, creating art heal me as a person. First, as a boudoir photographer, I didn't even really know what I was doing was art then. I thought a photographer was a photographer and an artist was an artist, and those were different things, and I didn't marry the two. It was even probably a year after the Hostage Project that I was able to say I am an artist and not just I am a photographer, and to identify myself as that. So watching myself heal, and then my model from that project. And then since then, the other projects that I've done, you know, one called My Unraveling that involves a friend that I have that has trichotillomania. So it's a compulsive need to pull out your hair. And I've worked with her since 2016. She does not pull anymore. And I've worked with her since 2016 to work through all of these emotions through mirroring herself back to her. You know, I had another project called Fetal to Free, where a woman was nude and body painted and dancing through her feelings about sexual abuse. But so watching other people heal and knowing that there's something magical about it, and I'm not just talking about photography, art is magical. I don't know if there's anybody that can view art and not get a flood of emotions. I do. I mean, if you don't, I feel very sorry for you, but it's just so emotional. And I learned early on in the boudoir studio that what goes on in your mind comes out your face. And so that's how I would get the authentic, sexy faces of my clients. And then when I started the Hostage Project, I kind of I thought, well, that works here, will this work here? And so I've got my poor little model, and she's, you know, tied up in chains or tape or rope or whatever I was doing to her that day, and we would talk about the feelings we were working through, and we would talk about the person that we were channeling that day, that was their issue, and we had specific music playing, and so we were channeling all of those feelings into the photograph, which I believe comes out on the other side. So art heals because my art heals, everybody else's too, I guess, but it's because of the feelings that happen and all the stuff that's going on. So I'm just going to read a little bit of my statement here, just because it explains it better than I can. So I say, I transmute feelings into photographs through planning, visualization, and enacting their mental strongholds. My subjects explore their inner darkness and light. And my projects are ultimately about putting people back together. And that just explains it better than I could go on for days, but that's it. And so what I've learned too is, though, it starts with me and my subject, and then people see it, and then more people see it. And as I put these projects out into the public, it affects more and more people, so it just keeps getting bigger. And so, you know, I'm not world famous, but what I've done has affected some people, and it's helped some people, and it's healed some people, and you know, maybe it's just my job to heal this part of the collective, and then it just keeps radiating out, and ultimately makes a better world, you know, so that.
Absolutely.
And that's one more piece when you were talking about, you were recognizing or honoring, you're making the art healed you, you're making the art was healing the model, and then I want to add the third is the viewer. Right, Christi acknowledging when she thinks of your show, she can feel those feelings, and so it is a ripple effect. as more and more people
definitely.
become aware of the art of the show.
And I want to read the last part of my artist statement because it just says that. It says, my art practice is socially engaged, focusing on emotional healing through conceptual photography. The healing radiates out concentrically from the models and subjects of the works to myself, to the observer and the patrons, and to the collective, ultimately serving to heal the world. And so that's in a nutshell. Yeah.
That's it right there. Yeah.
Yeah, it took me a while to write that.
I read another book that I loved the title. It was Art as a Way of Knowing. And I think part of that knowing and awareness is also what leads to healing. So
Definitely.
just connect that together.
I don't think art is the only way to heal, but I think it's one of the ways.
One of the paths.
Yep.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you if you've received any criticism about the I'm sure you've had this question before, about the boudoir photos. I can see how it's empowering, but I think others on the surface may have a criticism.
Yeah, and or criticism of the hostage project too. Because some people might, anyway, I'd be interested in what.
I haven't had that much criticism about boudoir photography, but the hostage project garnered some strong emotions, and I was a brand new artist at that point, and I'm not saying I handled it real well. I was crushed because I like for everyone to like me, and it's taken me a long time to not care that someone doesn't like me. So there were things said about the hostage project, and I'm a very wordy person. My artist statements are long. My descriptions of all of my works are very long because I'm also a writer, and so those two things are kind of inseparable to me. And when people don't take time to read all of this stuff and they just look at it on the surface, like the hostage project, and a woman's all tied up and she's naked, and
they
you know,
put their
they project their, you know. And one thing that kept coming up during the hostage project was, oh, it's like 50 Shades of Grey. And I would say, no, it's actually nothing like 50 Shades of Grey. No, it's nothing like that. So yeah, there were some things said, and it hurt at the time, but it had needed to happen because it taught me to not care. And then the next level of my artist evolution was getting upset that people didn't read and think what I wanted them to think about my art. And now I'm at the points, like, if you read it, fine. If you don't, fine. I don't care. You know, look at it, assign whatever feelings that you have toward it. That's very freeing.
Yeah, I love, so a couple of things here. Like, I mean, art, I think, art is great art when it provokes something.
Right.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Whatever that is in person, but when it provokes. But one thing I appreciate about your work is that, you know, when someone says 50 Shades of Grey or whatever, they're typically thinking, oh, this is objectifying a woman for a male gaze or a masculine gaze, right? But the thing I love about your photography is this is for her gaze. These projects are in service of your client. Who cares, you know, what is said, but it's her gaze.
Yes.
And that's, I think, why some people don't have challenge understanding it and seeing the magic in it.
Well, we are taught as women that it's selfish to, first of all, to do things for ourselves and to take care of ourselves, you know, from the small child, and especially, I think, Southern women. I think it's more prevalent, I don't know, because I've never lived anywhere but the South, but I think Southern women, you know, you train from an early on that you take care of other people. And when you take care of yourself, it's perceived as selfish. And so if a woman has a photograph of herself that she loves, then, you know, maybe you spent money on that, you know, in the case of boudoir, but then in the case of the fine art, it's very raw and emotional for them. That is their insides literally turned out onto a canvas or a photograph for everyone to see.
So speaking of that, your next show, you have a reception coming up. Could you tell us a little bit about that and a little bit about what people can expect to see?
Well, it is at Reverie Art Gallery, which is, it's underneath a coffee shop in Prairie Creek, so Highway 12 towards Beaver Lake. There's a little spot in the road called Prairie Creek, and there's a coffee shop there called Reverie. James Stroud and his wife own it, and so coffee shops upstairs, art galleries underneath, and it's a world-class art gallery. He has an amazing personal collection, and it's all very provocative. And so he's given me like 1.5 wall, and I've got 3 things there. I've got 8 of the 12 of the Hostage Project, the entire project of Fetal to Free, which is also nude. I do actually photograph people not nude sometimes, but
You do have shots.
I do some stuff, but in Fetal to Free, she's body painted from head to toe, and she's red, and so she's nude, but it doesn't register in your mind that she's nude when you're looking at it. And then I have another project which I'm absolutely in love with, and I've got to kind of kick myself in the backside and get this done, and it's called Awakening the Divine Feminine. So 2 very large pieces from that, and that's about a friend that I have that you guys probably know, Madeline Elizabeth Love, and it's about her journey to become a female shaman. And I love those images. They're so beautiful and special to me. So the 3 projects all there together, and just kind of a variety of my work.
I know.
It's hanging there now, so you can go anytime and see it, but the reception is November 1st in the late afternoon, and it's just a drop-in, so you have to be there at a certain time.
And since we're not sure when someone is going to listen to this, do you know how long that will hang?
It will hang until shortly after November 1st. I'll probably take it down, the day or 2 after the gallery.
Okay.
So the entire month of October of 19, it'll be there.
And then for listeners and viewers that are out of the area, will they be able to find your work?
lanefosterfineart.com is my fine art work.
All right, and we'll make sure that we have links and show notes to make it easy for people to
Yeah,
find you.
and also would love to see have everyone watch for the project coming up in February, because there will be there will be spiritual practices. There'll be 3 spiritual practices, and Christi is your name. Christi will be like I don't know you. Christi will be leading one of those, and then there'll be 2 other spiritual practices, and then at the conclusion of that, the people who come to those practices will be assembling. So if you want to be part of making art, then come and be part of that collective.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been lovely, and I think it may be time to wrap it up.
Okay.
All right, well, so
Here's to a soulful, energy, and joyful life.
Yes.
Thanks for listening.